Good morning and welcome. You are with the Skeinz Diaries. I am Marie, episode 208, here on a rather gloomy Thursday, November the 10th. Welcome along. Good to see everybody along today. I hope everything is good at your place. And as promised, a week late, but never a dollar short or a day late, I have got the fantastic Ethan from Outlaw HQ. And it's brilliant because we've got so much news to talk about. It was the
Kia
big
ora koutou. How's it
yeah, kia ora to
going?
you. Welcome along. It has been I don't know about you. The spring's been crazy. Like
It's been nuts.
it has been nuts. It has been totally nuts.
It's been nuts. There's a
And
song from a musical. It's very inappropriate that we can't sing. It's springtime for something, but in our case, it's just been springtime for yarn. So that's always
yeah,
good news.
absolutely, absolutely. And I'm in the middle of a row here, so I can
Oh
actually
my
finish
god,
this.
me too.
I know, so we can show things off. So we of course, Ethan couldn't join us last week because you were on a big
No,
Jetbird airplane,
that is
heading
right.
to Wellington for,
I
and
was
I'd
on our
mentioned,
Wakararangi on our way
yeah,
to Wellington, which was a
yeah,
good time.
yes, and
Um,
that was for the opening, well, the official opening of the Harakura whare that Rudy and Lissy Cole have been doing, of course. And there, I know, I can see it in the back there. It's amazing. So,
it is
how
amazing.
was it? Explain to everybody what it is for those that haven't caught up on it, how you
Yeah.
guys got involved, and how was it?
So Lissy Cole Robinson and Rudy Robinson are, I would argue, New Zealand's premier crochet artists, full stop. Possibly, and like I don't want to put anybody, like there are other super talented people, like Tina Torresdotter and Made by London and some other amazing crochet artists all over the world who do incredible things. But I'm just gonna say, Lissy and Rudy are probably the best in the world. So Lissy is a multi-talented individual who is just kind of an endless creative force, and she makes these amazing feku and po and taonga and just incredible creations celebrating Māori culture, but she does them interpreted through her lens of joy in neon. Um, so this beauty behind me he's protected from dust at the moment by his little plastic cover, also because we've there's like a custody battle going on about the feku because this is in my new office and I would like to keep Harakoa in here with me. So he might actually be being put up as part of my backdrop for Outlaw Online, which would be fantastic. So Lissy, actually, I'm just gonna go grab him. I'm gonna go grab him and unwrap him because that'll help.
So you don't realize how big he is until you actually touch it. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
massive. They're so much bigger in
they're
person.
they're huge. So Lissy makes these incredible creations, and she had a like dream and a drive from her tipuna to start working on an absolutely incredible idea of creating a wharenui, a traditional gathering house, um, out of neon yarn and crochet. And so she started assembling kind of the idea behind this and talking about it. And Deb, being Deb, heard about it. And if there's one thing about our Deb, it's that if there's anything wild and wonderful going on in the world of art that involves yarn and wool, Deb will find it. And it doesn't matter if it's someone, who wants to make a giant goth statue out of felt, or if it's somebody who, is looking to create a full-size wharenui out of neon yarn. Deb will find them and do everything she can to help. So we, of course, came to you guys at Design Spun with the question of, could we make an 100% New Zealand made wool? Because this beauty here, I think the pink is our wool, but the rest of it is not, because at the time when Lissy was working in this yarn, there was no one in New Zealand making, for some strange reason, no one in New Zealand was making neon colored bulky weight 100% wool yarn. It's so confusing. Why wasn't that? It's a crazy idea, but if there's like, Deb and I are here for the crazy, and luckily Peter, of course, was like, I mean, I can make neon colored bulky weight wool, but are you sure you want that? And so Deb reached out to Lissy and offered to use our connections with Design Spun to start producing the yarn for the Wharenui. So Wharenui Harakura is one of the largest installation pieces I have seen in a long time. And as as Marie knows, I've been involved with a lot of galleries nationally in Canada and internationally due to a strange fixation that I have on large scale installation art. It's just like a thing that I like. And so we went and saw Lissy and Rudy, and Lissy and Rudy came down to Christchurch and we talked to them, and then she came up to visit you in Napier. And I think that we were all just caught up in the magic of this idea of building a neon whare that would be a place of gathering for everyone. And she communicated the idea so clearly and easily that you could really see what it was going to be, you know, like traditional tuka-tuka panels.
Their vision right from the beginning was crystal clear. Crystal clear. Even skeptics at my end, when I took them to the mill, even Ian was like, he got it straight away.
Yeah.
So
then it kind of has, it's just kind of spiraled and grown from there. So she's obviously made several different veku and other beautiful things, but now we're making full-size, well, they're making full-size po. We just happen to like know how to place an order with Design Spun. And so we order the yarn, and Lissy and Rudy transform it along with their daughter Jasmine, who's their production coordinator, and they create these amazing things. So there are, I think we're at 9 finished po at the moment, and several of the tuka-tuka panels are done. We got to see one of them fully installed, which was incredible. And then just the whole experience. So it is going to be a massive neon celebration of all things Māori and all things New Zealand. But in this, I think part of the joy of it being rendered in neon is that it creates this cross-cultural invitation to participate in the joy of it. And the shapes and the forms that they've chosen, because they've worked with a variety of different artists. Some of them are their family and their cousins. They've worked with an artist from the Tainui people of Puerto Rico. Françoise Denoy has been involved. She's making a panel out of punch needle. Crochet Made by London, who's a crochet bomber based in the UK. She's absolutely fantastic. She's done some amazing stuff over the years. You'll see her featured all over like Christy Glass Knits and stuff like that, because like, you know, you leave London alone long enough with a crochet hook and your bench is going to be covered in something. She did a whole themed panel.
So one of the things I love though is with the collaborations that they've been doing is that they've also been teaching people to crochet along the way. So this isn't just about creating this incredible art, but it's also expanding the skills and the knowledge of those other collaborators that they bring in, which I think is genius. And genius. Also, it's at so for those that don't know, it's at the Douse in Lower Hutt, correct?
It is at the Douse, yes. Yeah, I think Kathy obviously has already put the link up. Surprise everyone.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. And it's also too, just to stress, it's not completed. I mean, it's it's essentially the skeleton. It's
a skeleton right now.
Are all up. Yes, the panels are being done as we speak. So this is still very, very, very much a work in progress, which I think is really exciting.
And it displays tons of different crochet techniques, tons of different ways of interacting with the yarn, and it creates this immersive experience that you enter inside of. I mean, I went basically dressed as part of the exhibit because I was wearing a Lissy Cole sweater. So I just went and like, I just sat and I was wearing pink pants and purple shoes. I really like.
You were working the vibe.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, over the years of going to art openings, like one of the best things you can do is like you tie yourself to the work that you're seeing so that people understand. And I guess like, I think that's a very like, you know, New York, LA, Toronto thing of like going dressed as part of what the artist is trying to do. Like that's what you do at a gallery opening in the culture, in the circles I've run in the past. So I went dressed to celebrate the wonder that is them. And it is moving in a way that is almost impossible to describe. You have to go see it. Every piece of it that gets finished makes it more intense. I cried. I'm fine with that. And then I sat. It has this big, deep, rich, beautiful carpet as well, from one of the big carpet suppliers who's completely gotten rid of it nylon. Can I remember who they are? No, let's move on. And I just sat on the floor.
Oh, it's Cavalier. I'm pretty certain it's Cavalier. It'll be Cavalier.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
I sat on the floor for about half an
Yeah.
hour, and just chatted with Lissy and Rudy and their family, and was just part of the living, breathing exhibit.
Mm.
I do have to say, Douse has done an exceptional job housing it. They've really done the work as a gallery of building incredible spaces inside of their space. Because to be clear as well, the Fuddy is 3.6 meters tall at its highest point. Like, it's big. Or 6.2, I don't remember, something like that. She big. I felt small inside of it. And yeah, so 10 out of 10 would recommend. If you're in the Wellington area, please go to the Douse. Please go see it. I believe next it's coming to the Waikato. So if you're in the Waikato, it'll be coming to you. And then there is a rumor that it'll be coming to visit us in Christchurch at some point, hopefully in 2024, which is good. And then, yeah, but it was a magical experience. I also got to experience, and I'm glad that you're already sitting down, Marie, 3 consecutive sunny days in Wellington with no rain.
Oh, well, you wouldn't get that here in the Bay at the moment, but that's another story. Oh, no, well, that's wonderful. It's, I couldn't make it down, but it was amazing. It just sounded so amazing. And I can't wait
so
to
good.
see the progress. Now, speaking of progress, the mystery knit along from Stephen West Twists and Turns has been completed. Okay, the good,
absolutely.
the bad,
Would you like to see mine?
Yes.
1 second. I have it right here. 1 sec. I'll get it out for everybody. I kept it just for this. So that's how far we got this year, everyone. And that's how far it will stay. I'm going to pack this kit up into a box and ship it off to its new owner. And I'm going to say goodbye to the mystery knit along. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's talk about the real situation that happened with this mystery knit along this year, everyone. And you're staring at it right here. So every year with the mystery knit along is a little different. But I was having some real texture time flashbacks with this. Jeanette loved knitting it. Well, Jeanette, honestly, I'm fascinated. Tell us more, because that is crazy.
Because I have to admit, visually, that effect I think is incredible, but
Yeah.
I didn't knit it. So, I mean, I'm assuming knitting it wasn't quite so much fun.
So, I mean, you know me. I don't like to look at my knitting.
Yeah.
Unless absolutely forced. So I don't look at my knitting. The problem, or not problem, but the reality of this, so let's give the people a little preview of what this would look like if I'd actually finished it, because it would have been beautiful. Like, I'm good at putting colors together for the mystery knit along. I've got some experience with this. So 80% of the time I ignore what Stephen says, because our girl's real drunk sometimes. Less. So there we go. So this is what it would have looked like. Those are the little novelty cables. It would have been really cool and graphic and fun. I think I picked the right colors. I think it was all good. The reality is I knit a lot, and I don't like to look at my knitting. And this entire piece, what you're doing is you're making these little loops by doing a cable cast on and then binding it off. So you have to look at your knitting the entire time, and you're constantly turning it back and forth. So you're turning it back and forth here, and you're turning it back and forth here, and then you're turning it back and forth here, and you're turning it back and forth here, you're turning it back and forth here. And I'm sure that you're getting the picture of how tedious this was.
Oh my
and
God,
that was the big
so
problem.
get on your tits. I can see it now.
So this was like a few hours of knitting. Like, if I had actually just stuck it out, it probably wouldn't have taken me that long, but I don't have the patience. And so I gave up and I tucked the beautiful yarn back into my beautiful little bag, and I'm going to have this yarn packed into a different little bag, and I'm going to send it to Kathy, and I'm going to say, bye-bye to the mystery knit along. Although I do love the little bag. The bag is great.
Yeah, Tabitha's saying she's still on the I called cast on with Glue One. Yeah, isn't it funny? Because I know Jeanette was one that got hers done, pretty quickly. And as I was watching the clues come out, I have to admit, after Clue One, I looked at it and I thought, oh, actually, I like the look of that. I like that raised cable. I thought that was quite genius. But then as it sort of, I don't know, there's something about the shape that kind of, it didn't resonate with me.
It's like if Batman had been designed by a 5-year-old who had every crayon. I guess the thing about the mystery knit along is every year is a gamble. And you're taking a bet on somebody who he's an iterative designer. Like, this is the thing to remember about Stephen, right? The big thing that we all have to remember is Stephen likes to take a concept. Marie and I have talked about this in the past. He likes to take a concept and then he likes to play with it. And he kind of mushes it around and squishes it into different shapes and he applies it to different panels of fabric. And sometimes the results are spectacular and breathtaking, like the painting honeycombs shawl, which is a really simple technique used repeatedly with a simple increase, is the most superior of his painting honeycombs patterns, which there's like 8 of, right? And that's the thing about someone who works iteratively, is that you get some things that are incredible and some things that are, more of a stop along the way of progression, right? And I guess the thing is, like, I don't actually mind TDM. Like, I have knit 2 crosshatch shawls, which is a 3-meter rectangle of 1x1 brioche. Like, I don't mind that because I don't have to look, right? Like, I can just sit there and knit and knit and knit and knit, and it's fine. And I mean, like, you're talking to somebody who knits like 8 stockinette sweaters a year. Like, trust me, I can handle boredom. I can't handle tedium.
Yeah.
And so the mystery knit along, it's permanently in the naughty corner. This one was not for me, and that's just fine. And if it's not for you, I guess I would like to release all of you at home from the pressure to finish your mystery knit along. You have your official papal dispensation to just, set that free to the 4 winds. Like, just, the thing is, there are 1,000 other sure bet Stephen West patterns. And you know what was enraging everyone? I don't know about the rest of you, is like the mystery knit along finishes and then he puts out this Aurora cabin shawl and like that's what I want to knit. Like, Jesus. And so I, Ethan, Andrew, Barkley, and you, 3rd largest stash in the world, I swear to God, was like, okay, fine, Stephen, I'm gonna buy the kit. I was on the website 4 minutes after the kits came out, and the kit that I wanted was sold out. Personally attacked. Personally.
Look, and I think it's important that, I mean, you can't win, I think, get a winner every time. And as we said, Jeanette loved knitting hers. And,
exactly.
It is about, as you said, creating, sometimes it wins, sometimes there was little elements in it I loved, but then there are other things that I didn't.
Starflake, winner. Like, so here's the thing. He's had a really strong showing. We've had 3 absolutely incredible years. Starflake, Slipstitch Extravaganza, and Shawlography, all amazing. 10 out of 10. I mean, we all remember the collection of disasters, the Doodler.
I haven't done an MKAL since. The Doodler ruined me.
Texture Time. That's the one, like, so I bought one of the original kits. I bought the pink and cream and peach one. And it was a très vaginal, as we would say in French. That shawl will never see the light of day. But like, the good thing is, right, the Doodler led to dotted rays. We all love dotted rays. That's a fantastic pattern. Yeah. And then, Texture Time led to Moharino Medley, which is also a fantastic pattern. And so sometimes a stop along the, iterative journey isn't for us. But you know what the best part about being on a bus is? You get off at the stop you want to.
Yeah.
And so, it's always a good time to reassess your relationship with Stephen West. And also, I am considering putting out a newsletter in 2 weeks with a list of all the patterns of Stephen West that you could use that yarn for that aren't that pattern.
Yeah.
And
Great.
this is
and that's a great idea. And I think and it's okay. It's okay to start it, not like it, and then look at, as you said, the new designs that are coming out. I mean, dotted rays, I think, there are so many different things. Exploration station, there's a million and one different things that you could use that yarn for. So it's
set it free to become a new pattern. If it's not happy.
So
what do you got going on?
So of course I'm doing the Basketweaver, and see, I'm exactly like you. I like, because I do a lot of my knitting when I'm either audio booking or watching telly. I don't watch a huge amount of telly, so when I do watch it, I want to be doing something, and I have to admit it would drive me crazy if I'm forever having to be looking at my work. And if I'm watching TV, I often watch stuff with subtitles because I like all that really tragic Scandinavian murder mysteries.
Yeah, we end up watching the same things. We should just start sharing an Acorn account. It'd be faster.
I know, gosh, and it's just, so I need to be able to knit something that I can read subtitles with at the same time, since I don't speak any Nordic languages. Mind you, I now know murder is the same in Finnish, Swedish, and Norwegian. Anywho, I digress. So I have been doing, but there we go. This is where I'm up to. Ta-da! It's coming along.
That's a good look.
It is a good look. And it's working so well in this.
Is that the roving?
Yeah, it is. It's getting a gentle little halo. I mean, this girl, she's going to black. It is going to look so good after a block. It's going to be amazing after a block. And it's just so genius. It is, really, really genius. And as you said, painting bricks, simple concept, done on repetition. He's done exactly the same here. I can see this becoming a complete collection. He'd be a fool not to. It's just because it is a really joyous thing to knit. There's enough stuff going on that as you said, you're not going to get into tedium or boredom. It'll keep you away from that. But it's easy to follow. I mean, as I mentioned the other day, so this is the Basketweaver shawl by Stephen West. For those that didn't catch up the other few days, if you are thinking of casting this on, I'm just going to reiterate this, and Ethan was there when I had this conversation with Deb last week. The setup portion, which is here, you do need to make sure in that very, very first row that you do not miss those first yarn overs. Utterly essential. I cannot reiterate that enough, because if you miss those first yarn overs, you're screwed and you will need to go back. So so just make sure that if you are going to do this, just give yourself a little bit of quiet time to get that set up done.
Now, I've seen a couple of people on Ravelry saying that he's a little short on the yardage for this. Are you thinking
that's not like him? Usually he's the other way around.
Yeah, but I've seen a couple people saying they've needed an extra 50 grams or so. Are you thinking, how are you tracking for that?
Actually, let me have a quick yardage and I'll tell you. I actually was quite surprised at what I was getting so far. So he is saying here, what is he saying here? 841 meters. So that's 9 balls. Well, depends on how I go. So I am now, what are we? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, so I'm into the 4th of the medium block. So that's almost halfway through the medium section. So I would say I'm probably 30% through the shawl. And this is I'm just finishing ball number 2.
Okay.
So I'm tracking all right. And to be fair, he does say here that essentially, just as long as you get to the end of a block section, you cast off. then just bind off. So if you're 1 or 2 blocks short, I mean, she's a whopper. I've seen some of them completed now, and this is a substantial shawl. So if you're running a little bit short on meterage, God, don't you love it how people get really, really pedantic about stuff like that?
Honestly, as a designer, so there was a moment last evening where someone got real pedantic with, like, actually, I've had 2 incidents yesterday where someone, both of the ones I'm about to describe were via email.
Yeah.
About a pattern that I wrote a long time ago. The same pattern, 2 different people. I have this intricate little set of fingerless mitts.
Yeah.
And someone got real shirty with me because there's 2 different ribbings in it for 2 different reasons. Like, one ribbing is one way and the other ribbing is another, for like, it's for a functional purpose. And someone was like, you made a mistake. And then another person emailed me about this same thing about a pattern. Was like, your ribbing is wrong. No, it's like that on purpose. And people just get like, white hot rage. Part of me, like, I love it. I'm like, oh, tell me more about how you know more about my design than I do. But, like, honestly, it was just like yesterday, you know, Marie and I sell people yarn for a living. Surprise. If you haven't caught on, we're here to sell you yarn. So we sell people yarn for a living. And yesterday I was selling someone yarn. And so I included a ball and a half extra. Like, I just rounded up. So here's a top tip, you know, extra for experts. If you're buying anything, assume you should have an extra ball. If not 2. Like, worst case scenario, oh no, you've got a couple extra balls of yarn. Knit something else with it, donate it. There you go.
Well, as you and I have talked about before, minimum 10% contingency if it's on a standard stock item. If it's on a limited edition, or it's about to go out, 20% contingency. And we don't do this because we're wanting to sort of pad the coffers. We're doing this because one of our pet peeves, both of us, is that inevitable email that you always get. I know that this is a long shot, but do you still have? And this is like, no.
My personal favorite is when someone has, like, started a project 3 years after they bought the yarn. And, like, just as a side note, Marie and I both buy yarn. Like, we should warn you now, while we both have access to near unlimited quantities of yarn, we're both very guilty of purchasing yarn because we've got some weird taste in yarn, like strange Japanese taste in yarn. So A, it's not cheap. And B, like, everything from Japan is a limited edition, just to be clear with you. So when we
even
buy
from
yarn,
one ball to the next.
Looking at you, Daruma. We have different yarn passions as well, but trust me, none of it's normal and none of it's easy to get. So when we buy yarn for a project, both of us always have leftovers because we buy more than we need, which is why we sometimes end up making some pretty fantastic extra projects, like this little wonder right here, because this is some leftovers knit together with some other leftovers. So I'm doing this is not a test knit in the traditional way. I'm not checking the pattern for the designer. I'm just knitting a sample to put on the internet for the designer. So this is for the wonderfully talented Olga Burikafelian. And if you are looking for an exciting knit, look no further than Olga. It doesn't matter what she's designing, she makes it interesting. So all of you at home might be thinking to yourself, golly, that looks odd. This is double brioche. So it functions the same way that brioche functions, except it actually produces a fabric that has more in common with double knitting than with brioche, which is really fascinating because while brioche is reversible, it's not usually this reversible. But this is fully reversible fabric, which is like hardcore genius. So I'm using Rebel Light in Origin. Shock and surprise. You can hold your gasps for later, everyone. And I've paired it with, again, here's some shocking news. Ethan's knitting with Spin Cycle. I have a little bit of an obsession. I fixate, everyone. I fixate for long periods on one yarn, and I have to knit with it endlessly, or I go insane. So yes, that's right. It's another Spin Cycle project. So this is double brioche. This is the fireworks hat. I think it's coming out just before Christmas. it doesn't take a huge amount of yarn. So this is 250-gram balls of yarn. I'm almost finished. And it's really, really fun. You know what's not fun? The cast on. Because and I'm glad again that Marie's already sitting down, because Olga is smarter than us. Let's be clear about this. Like, I am a clever knitwear designer. I'm very comfortable saying Olga is smarter than me. Okay?
The
just telling you all
midget,
this.
Genius knitting midget, yes.
Yeah. Like, all other knitwear designers, save for maybe Nora Gone, should just like step aside. Like, Olga's coming and she has an idea and you've never thought of it before. And you're like, how did you get there? So she figured out how to do a tubular magic circle cast on. A tubular 2x2 magic circle cast on. Well, that's brain bending, just as a side note. Like, if you're about to do this hat, I just need you to know you're going to have to do the cast on 5 times. Just move on and accept this. It works perfectly once you get it to work, but it takes 5 attempts. So this is pure, and this is joyful to knit. If you're really confident with brioche skills, so just so that you know, double brioche functions a little strangely. It's like you've taken fisherman's rib, 2 reversible fisherman's rib though, which is not, so this is English rib, which is a cousin of fisherman's rib, but they're not quite the same, because the wrong side is quite visually different to the right side. This is actually the right side. But same sort of idea. So if we're talking fisherman's rib, this is how it works. And you can see the common elements with the branching and the triple increases and stuff, right? This is a little different. So you basically work 1 stitch in fisherman's rib the entire time, and then you work 1 stitch in brioche the entire time, except you work alternating rows of fisherman's stitch in brioche. So on one round, you're working the first stitch in fisherman's rib and the second stitch in brioche, and then you're working the first stitch of the purl side in brioche and the second stitch in fisherman's rib. And then when you switch to the other way around, to the other color, you reverse it. And then you just kind of like stack them endlessly on top of each other, and it turns into this.
But you'd get a flow on with that though after a while, I would have thought. So I've actually been knitting this watching TV, because it turns out that you don't have to look when you're knitting one below. Yeah. Which I didn't know, because I've never done it. The purl one below is not something that you do like ever. It's not a part of fisherman's rib, because you work one side plain and then you knit one below, purl one the other side, right? That's fisherman's rib, friends. Sorry to spoil the surprise. If you haven't gotten there yet in your like how to knit workbook, we're reading ahead, everyone. So you do actually get a rhythm, because you work that first stitch and then you bring the yarn forward, you brioche purl, and then you purl one below. And so very quickly it transforms from this like awkward knitting experience to this very rhythmic little dance of your needle, because it's 3 in a row that are purls basically, and then 1 knit. And if you kind of think about it that way. Yeah. And it's just do 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 do. Yeah. And it's very easy to read, and it's really easy to fix mistakes compared with regular brioche, because the reading's huge too. That's what I've been finding with is if I can read the knitting, I'm as good as gold. Like if I see the genius, it's like, oh, that's cool. If I don't have to keep referring back to the pattern, I'm happy. Yeah, and it just flows endlessly onwards. So again, it's that knit and then slip and then yarn over and purl below, and it's just like okay, and it's keeping the yarn in the correct place. Now, to be honest, I think my weird knitting method where I constantly tension really helps with the speed on this, because I can just maneuver the yarn back and forth. But I think you'll get a good pace going with it. Like, it's just, if you want to think about it, there's I have this prompt written down to talk about. So this says hard, tricky, or complicated, right? So there's three different difficulties in knitting. Is something hard to do, as in physically actually like difficult to make your, like a purl 5 together, which you do in some forms of brioche. That's into the back physically, of the stitch. Yeah. Oh God, Jesus. Isn't that weird basket weave herringbone thing? Yeah. Oh God.
No, thank you, Pearl Soho. You keep that to yourselves. And then there's tricky, right? Like, is something tricky to do because it takes concentration. So, like a center double decrease, it's like, which one do I pass where? Oh, okay. Or Kitchener stitch. Kitchener stitch isn't hard and it's not complicated. It's tricky because it's like, where do I start? Where do I end?
Yeah.
And then last on this list is complicated. Is something actually, is the number of steps required to do it in the order you have to do it in super repetitively complicated to understand? And so brioche is complicated. And like, that's, I think, a good way to think about things. So is this hard, tricky, or complicated? Well, the answer is yes. This is hard, tricky, and complicated, but it also resolves to be quite simple. Once you understand complexity, complexity becomes easy. And then you just move on with it. And as I said, it's one knit in 3 pearls.
Just like that, he says. Just like that. Hey, I put out the newsletter this morning because I did about once a week. I jump on Ravelry and have a look at the, front page.
Hot right now.
Yeah, the hot right now. And I put this popped out, which is a little DK, because this would be amazing and Rebel. Would be really,
yeah, that would be amazing in Rebel.
Really, here we go. That's probably, it's not the greatest photo of it, but that's it there. So it's just using short rows.
That's really cool.
Really, and it's free. We like free. So it's Umber Ripple by Lisa March. And I put together some ideas for roving, but this, I think, even this color palette actually would look incredible in Rebel, or even Bandit DK if you've got some of that lurking around. But whilst we're on to the discussion of spin cycle and brioche and such, one of the other things that was on the front page this morning was the new design from Andrea Murray. Andrea Murray, has one seen it?
One has perused.
One has perused. Yes. So because apparently everybody needs a just a very casual, kimono style jacket that one throws over, done completely in spin cycle. In this economy. It is beautiful. Tronigan, thank you, Kathy. Kathy's put it up. To be fair, I like the design. That's really cool. But I have you crossed
myself to your. Well, I have to out myself to your viewers, so give me a moment. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So the reason I bring this up, of course, everybody, is Pulse, because I have figured out, I'm going to actually do the costings. I'm going to put it out in a newsletter. I've actually figured out how to do it in Pulse at a fraction of the cost and actually get the look.
Okay, so we all know that Ethan loves a budget-friendly knit. I don't. This is like, if there's one thing about Marie and I, that like Marie is actually really good at knitting to a budget, and I am not.
No. Oh my gosh! So, 900. Is that right, Tabitha? $900 to knit it.
I think that the biggest kit that I've seen was $640 US.
Oh, stop it.
So I have to confess, I'm currently working on a design for Spin Cycle in the worsted weight dream state. And I picked my contrast yarn, my main color yarn to go with it. And I might be using NYX. The reason that I can't say anything about this situation because I now live in the world's largest glass house. I'm not equipped to throw any stones because.
Oh, I know. Gosh, that's so gorgeous. So.
Because I'm making an all-over colorwork drop shoulder double knit cardigan.
Wow, that's gorgeous.
Cardigan in Spin Cycle and.
Don't you love Kathy? You can be a Spin Cycle monster when they send it to you all for free, Ethan, says Kathy.
I mean, I buy Spin Cycle sometimes.
It is beautiful. So for those who are not aware what we're talking about with Spin Cycle, it is it is beautiful. It is, they use a more it's not as a mechanized process as what we do at the mill.
So they hand dye all of the tops.
Yes.
So they gild their own tops. They gild their own tops down, and then they hand dye the tops and then they spin the tops, and then they ply hand-dyed tops
and it's
together.
a very small batch, and so hence
Yeah.
hence the price. So we
It's
are not
very
dissing the yarn. The yarn,
inexpensive.
trust me, is beautiful. We
It
love
is
the yarn.
beautiful.
We love the yarn.
But we also recognize that, like, first of all, like, let's be honest, I didn't pay for the knits or the spin cycle in this sweater, and I should confess right now, this takes nearly 10 balls of knits and nearly 8 balls of spin cycle. So, like, again, my Andrea Mowry glass house is she real fragile. So I'm gonna keep all of my stones on the ground.
So that's okay, because when the time comes, this is why you and
have a
I
chance
are
to
the
knit and
yin and
pulse.
the
It'll be
yang.
great. Yeah.
Exactly. We are the yin and the yang for this, because
Mhm.
if you do want to be able to do this, and this is a beautiful thing, and this is why I'm doing this with Trinian, is that I can, with Pulse, we can do it. So actually, the meterages, I haven't even checked for the meterages. Oh, so no, she's saying, so yeah, 654 for the largest size. Sorry, you were right. I think I'm pretty certain with Pulse that we can come in at somewhere about 150, less than potentially. So, but you know what?
It also looks beautiful in solid colors.
Exactly.
Like, this would be fantastic in Bandit.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, because I'm just holding off, because we've got, our container has just arrived with the new Pulse back in, and the colors that I think would look amazing in it are sitting in the container. So I'm going to talk about those next week. But it is, if you've seen it, because it has just cropped up in the last few days, if you've seen it and you're like, ooh, and I have to say, as a design,
I love this style.
I love the style. Yeah, it is. It
She has, like,
absolutely
nailed
presses all my buttons. Sort of kimono style, big fat ribbing, mosaic stitching, a little bit of color work, nice little exposed sort of shoulder stretch.
I think it's a 3-needle bind off situation.
Yeah, a little 3-needle bind off thing at the top. There's some little elements there, I have to admit, I really, really do like. So,
you know what I have to say is, so if anyone noticed the jumpsuit thing she's wearing in it, I weirdly love it. Like, I think I would wear that, which feels insane to me. Like, have I gone nuts? Like, am I a jumpsuit girl now? I don't think so, because, like, those take forever to pee in.
So that jump is so funny. I saw that jumpsuit, and personally, I like the sneakers she was wearing. I was so over those. But the jumpsuit, I had actually a flashback, a super hardcore flashback to 1984, and I changed schools in 1984, and I went to a school that it's a long, complicated story, but anyway, I went to a different school, and I was 11, 12, 11, 12, 11, 11. I get to school, new teacher, just started at the school, and she turned up first day of class in a jumpsuit that I swear was identical to what Andrea was wearing. And she was fresh from teachers college. We had the sort of what I call duck bum haircut and sort of bright sort of thing. She was young and she was funky, and she had this sort of this jumpsuit on, and I was just like, wow. And I'm a country kid, so I had never seen anything like this in my life. So I just had a huge flashback. The most hilarious thing is that this teacher and I have now, in recent years, I'm very good friends with her sister, and I now actually know her as an adult, which is hilarious. So,
oh my God,
it's amazing how the world turns. Yeah, crazy. So super crazy. So I'm going to talk about that next week, everyone. So if you've seen that on that front page of Revelry and you're thinking, oh, I quite like, but I don't quite like, and Spin Cycle, I'll give you some options that will help soften the financial hardship and burden for you. Now you show me.
You can all just be like Ethan, just like.
Well, so. I know. To be fair, that's not a silly idea. As you said, if you've got that one precious skein or you want to do something with it, do something completely mad, crazy, and really special, and do it a smaller project. I mean, that makes perfect sense, really.
Well, I think that's the thing.
So you want to see something else? Speaking of special, and I'm telling you guys here this because I loaded this up literally while I was waiting for Ethan.
Dips.
And there's only 40 of these.
Ian, you've done us dirty. God.
This is my favorite yet. I love it. It's called Smoke on the
Better than
Water.
that blue one.
It is, yeah, it's called Smoke on the Water, and it's, hold on, I'll just see how much is left actually, because I did actually load it up just before. And it's on the Orb DK base, everybody. So there is this color is also, he hasn't done this color, but on a different base, and I don't quite know when that one's going to come out. But I loaded it up to the page because Apple Blossom, I put Apple Blossom up on Monday, and you guys loved Apple Blossom. That just disappeared in a hot minute. Sorry, I'm just loading. And it just disappeared. So I thought, right, we need to get another one up. And I'm not going to put a newsletter out about this. I'm only going to tell you guys on here, and I'll probably pop it up into the no one's touched them because no one's noticed they've gone up. Great. Kathy's just put the link in if you're on Facebook. It is gorgeous. It is literally so these are probably the two most extreme. So I could grade one from each extreme, and they're sort of in between. So they're literally like this beautiful sort of purple hazy smoky color, and they're utterly
so pretty.
Really, really, really pretty. So that's on the All Merino base. That's $19.95. The other thing I did too, you know how, I don't know whether you get this, but every now and then I because I've been doing some of these because they're short-lived, I'm photographing them myself, and some days I have good photo days and other days not so much.
And it doesn't make any sense. Like, no matter what setup you use, like I've gotten just for the record, like I have every piece of lighting equipment known to mankind for taking a good photo, and half the time they just don't work.
No, I know, and greens and reds are just the bane of my life, but that's another story. But I've redone these ones. These have been ticking out, but I'm stunned that they haven't sold as well as they have. And I had a look at it, and I think it's because my photo was shit, not to put too fine a point on it. So
hey, at least we're here to tell you the truth.
Yeah. So that's the Mystical Garden. Pretty. It is really pretty. Super, super, super pretty. And this is just in the standard DK machine washable base, $14.95. So this, if you're wanting to do a garment lot of something that's really amazing, definitely check that out. And that's around
that
too.
Also, just as a side note, everyone, that would be, if you were doing the Trinnigan, that would be a really pretty color for the mosaic flowers. Like if you picked up some of the vintage abroad in one of the light creamy shades and put that with it. Or even Stephen's new painting. Oh, fuck, I don't know. Like he's got more slip stitch cardigans. Just like fuck off.
One of those. Yeah.
Fine. Sorry. I'm sorry, everyone.
No, there is, but that's just it. There is. It's sometimes I don't know. You do get to a point where you can't see wood for trees, but those are definitely out there and look really amazing. So I
live in a weird bubble, right? Oh, and actually, Ethan Martin and you have a scrap buster project suggestion.
I know. This might be
huge. Yeah. This might be the first and last time this ever happens. So, like, hold on to yourselves, because I famously do not knit with any of my leftovers. I chuck them in a box and I move on, okay? Like, this is a well-known fact about me. And this isn't new, because I do not like being inconvenienced when knitting. So when the time comes, and poor Marie has witnessed me do this, like, I might have half a ball of yarn left over, and if I've finished a piece of a garment, I set that ball aside and I open a new one, because I cannot be fucked. I am he who sacrifices yarn, but I love this pattern. So this is actually, I've realized, my third most knit pattern ever. Somehow the winner is Rock Island by Jared Flood, which is, I've knit that 9 times in total, which is actually I think I should be committed. But this is another, brace yourself, Jared Flood pattern. This is Lucerne. So this is a really great little pattern. Now this is all in Rebel Light, obviously. There's some of the older colorways that thankfully were by Peter's largesse died for us, and some of the new colorways, including Mysterious Naomi, in here. And so this is some odds and ends and leftovers of several different people's projects. I just went around and gathered them up. Takes less than 50 grams of yarn to make the entire hat, and it works for any fingering weight yarn. So any fingering weight yarn that you have sitting around in your stash. Now, we're always going to tell you doing color work with only superwash yarns is not a pleasant experience, but You know what is actually a pleasant experience for color work? Because I have another one of these on the needles right now, is our Baby Bandit range and your Merino Soft range. Because weirdly, I have a ball of Merino Soft in my stash that's like, and I know, I don't know where it came from. I must have like picked it up in the warehouse or something. But it's the softest
too. Yeah, we've got restocks coming in with that. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. So this is a perfect hat to play with color on. The pattern comes with 5 different ways you can combine it. So there are 2 brim options, 2 crown options, 3 color work charts, and 2 lengths. Whew. So basically, you can make a hat for the whole family.
Which is perfect with Christmas coming up. So that's always a good thing.
And these take about 2 days to make. It's on a 3.75 millimeter needle. It does feature a tubular cast on, just as record, that's optional. But if you're like Marie and I and suffer from a family of people who have larger than average heads and hair, because my hair is starting to get out of control, I'm gonna have to meet with the ginge on my next visit. We'll have to take a like side-by-side photo. It's gonna be see who's got the bigger fro. Yeah, so that's where we're at with that. It's been a riot of random knitting around here because I've got, this is gonna surprise everyone, I have lots of yarn. And I've just been I actually like, I would just like to point out, because I've been telling everyone about this, and Marie can tell you that this is the honest truth. I have a very large stash that I almost never knit from. Even if I have the yarn for something in my stash, I usually just buy new yarn to knit a project, because I'm like, no, that's for something. And like, I've been at a yarn event with Marie where I have purchased yarn where both her and Deb have looked at each other with the like, is he buying yarn to knit something that he already has yarn for? The answer to that question is usually yes.
Yeah. At Knit August Nights, if you were there and Ethan was there, I sold off actually a lot of my stash. I went through, I had a huge big D stash, and I sold it all. Everybody loved my big D stash sale, and I sort of felt quite proud. And I've got like places where I have all my stash, and I can't see where I made a dent. I was like, I know it's bad. Anyway, on that note, I know it could be worse. Thank you very much. We will, of course, the good news is we will have Ethan back in 3 weeks instead of 4, since we were running a week late this time round. You have a great weekend wherever you are, and hopefully, and remember, if you're in the Bay, always come visit us. We'd love to see you. And remember, breakfast bourbon, of course, Saturday morning with Deb and Ethan.
Oh no, not this week. This week, sorry. Actually, sorry, Deb and I
just
are
with Well.
Wild thing. Dear God, thank God you brought this up. So, everybody, Deb and I are doing a wild thing this Canterbury anniversary weekend where we are taking
weekend off.
But brace yourself. We're not taking Saturday and Sunday off. We are taking Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday off. However, there is at 10 a.m. New Zealand Standard Time a very important announcement from Outlaw Yarn that is going to be happening on Breakfast Bourbon. So at 10 a.m. on Sunday. So like, honestly, skip church. I'm more important. No, I'm sorry. Too soon. Come hang out with the Yarn Pope and Deb, and we will be doing the most important announcement we've done in several years, which is really saying something, because like, we've made some wild announcements over the years here, including things saying like, we're bringing back Mix, which like, I think that took all of us by surprise. Even though we knew it was happening, I think both you and I were still surprised by that. So come join us Sunday morning, 10 a.m. You'll see Deb and I here. Will we be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed? No, but we'll be here.
All right, there you go. All right, on that note, thank you very much, my friend. We'll see you again very soon. I'll be back on Monday. Take care. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.